Parents, guardians of your honors hula student, I'm Mr. Custodio. Welcome to Curriculum Night. All right, let's get right into it. So just a little bit about who I am. I went to school at Portland State University, got my master's degree in education. This will be my 8th year of teaching. 4 years now belong to Jason Lee. 3 years before that, I was at Eisenhower Elementary teaching 4th grade, and 1 year in Ocean Lake Elementary as a 5th grade teacher in Lincoln City. My wife is a flight attendant for American Airlines, so we get to travel a lot. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we haven't gotten to, but we were married in Barcelona, Spain, so that's something that's dear to my heart. Being able to get married in a different country, as well as all those memories that we have been able to accumulate over the years, and we can fondly look back at during these times. So moving forward, let's talk about classroom and school-wide behavior expectations. The positive steps to success is school-wide. We will see that once we go back into the school in the hallways. It's done in the cafeteria, just basically everywhere, in the classroom, etc. So I also hold the students accountable for the positive steps to success, A through E. But one of the biggest things for me is to consistently be kind and to work hard, as you can see right here to the right. All right, keep it going. Let's talk about Zoom policy since this is in remote learning. We have a 3-strike rule. I will talk a little bit more in depth about that. Class begins right at the designated time. I do give students a little bit of time to get in, but it would be best for them to be within the Zoom in about, I'd say, the latest 2 minutes after the time, preferably if they can get in on time, because I do move quite quickly. Turn in your work on time. The deadlines are all throughout Canvas. You can find it there. I send out email reminders consistently as well, and make sure that you have everything prepared for class. So let's talk a little bit about the 3-strike rule for Zoom. This PowerPoint that you're seeing here is the parent guardian version of what the students saw. They definitely learned about the 3-strike rule as well as all the other expectations the last week. It was presented to them. So now you're also getting kind of the same presentation. So the first strike when you're in Zoom, maybe your student or the student is kind of goofing off a little bit, or maybe type something inappropriate. They get a nice, quiet, private, hey, warning for you. Second time around, they get more of a stern warning, say, hey, I might have to contact your parents, just an FYI, gotta keep it together. And then the third strike is when I do have to take a screen capture. And for those who are worried, it will only be your student's screen if that is the case. And I do have to send it by email to you just to give you a heads up. This is what happened. This is why I had to take this picture. This is what your student was doing. Certain circumstances will probably require me to disable the chat or the video during the second or third warning or strike. This is all based off of what's going on. If I'm moving quite quickly and I don't honestly have time to capture the screen, I will probably move forward with the disabling of the video and or the chat, and then I'll probably send a message home and have just a quick little chat with the student. Hey, why did this happen? Let me just give you a heads up. This is just a reminder on what the expectations are. We may not be inside of a classroom, but we still have to keep the expectations high. And that's how my classroom runs, high expectations, and making sure that we follow the rules so that we can move along smoothly for the class. Moving on, speaking of which, so going back to materials, your students need to have their planners ready to go. Their planners, every time they start a class with me, we will write inside of their planners. They will be filling it out when the Zoom starts. I typically will talk about the homework. They can write down their homework or whatever they learned or what they had done during that Zoom that day. If I don't have anything for them to write, I'll probably say, hey, just write down no HW, no homework that's given to you today. But continually check the planners, check your student's planner, make sure that it is filled out. And if it's not, email me and I'll let you know exactly what they're missing. Or just check Canvas or check the emails. A lot of sections for you to do that. Materials, so you gotta have a pen or a pencil. I would suggest to have a notebook. It is best for them to write things down. It helps them remember what they learned versus just doing the whole like listening and staring at a screen, right? Their planner, as we talked about, as well as their iPad. That's a no-brainer, right? But making sure that the iPad is charged or at least plugged in, ready to go. All right, let's jump right into the Hula Humanities Language Arts curriculum. This is a tentative schedule, meaning it is subject to change. We might shuffle some things around, might take some things out. It is remote learning after all, so we will see what works for remote learning. So the first trimester, when it comes to English, they will be reading informative articles, which will more than likely come from News ELA. That is an app. They will also be writing their first argumentative essay, which will be done through the app Think Circa. That hasn't started yet, but we will be going towards that soon. Language, writing non-negotiables, they're already starting that in class with what we call capsules. The C stands for capitalization. So you may have seen your student working on capitalization. And after that, the U stands for usage, and so on and so forth. You will notice that you'll see capsules, writing non-negotiables being done for the next few weeks. Parts of speech will be right after that, which will have a lot to do with nouns and verbs and all the parts of speech. All right, ancient civilizations, we will talk about Mesopotamia specifically. We may touch on the Stone Age with some stories, as well as the ancient civilizations of America. We will also start off in geography with continents and oceans. That is coming up pretty soon. Moving on to the second trimester, we are still analyzing informational text as well as writing, but this time writing will be expository, aka informative writing, still done on the Think Circa app once we get to that. Language will be parts of sentences, so we're talking about compound sentences, simple sentences, complex, compound, complex, etc. Moving forward with that, the ancient civilizations that will be addressed here or tentatively addressed will be ancient Egypt and ancient China, as well as a CVA that will be done probably on ancient China. That will be to be determined. And last but not least, for the Hula curriculum, for trimester 3, we will have a drama unit. We may have a friendship unit. We originally had 3 types of units that weren't specifically focused on ancient civilizations, friendship, identity, and environment. But because of the pandemic, the identity unit as well as the friendship unit more than likely will be cut out. We will be focusing on narrative writing and sentence fluency, punctuation, and presentation skills through PowerPoint or Google Slides. And this time around, it will more than likely be done on Zoom if we are still in remote learning. Ancient civilization at this point will be ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And I know it says civilizations of Americas. It all depends. We're more than likely going to start off with stories in the beginning in trimester 1, but we'll probably do our best to revisit it in trimester 3. And last but not least, it says Living History Museum. This might be virtual, and we'll talk more about that. It's meant to be done in person, but because of remote learning, because of the pandemic, this might be done virtually. So let's talk about grading. Well, we are using standards-based grading. It's a 5-point scale from 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So your student may want to try to achieve a 4. That's kind of what we're going for, right? So, how is it broken down? Well, out of 100%, 70% are the mastery task, meaning the assessments, the post-test mastery tasks. You see any of those words, that's more than likely going to be 70% of the grade. 20% quizzes, it's open notes for the quizzes, open book if you have that. 10% is practices, worksheets, iExcel work, could be iReady lessons, maybe it's just classwork that we're doing during a Zoom. So there you have it, that's the breakdown. Let's keep it moving though so you can really see what I'm talking about. Here you go. For those who need to see what it looks like, A, B, C, D, and F grades. So 4.0 to 3.5 will achieve your student an A, and so on and so forth, all the way to an F on the bottom, as you can see. If you'd like to pause the video, you can, and take a nice little look at this to make sure you got all the information. All right, let's talk about grading policies. Talk about that practice, that 10%. Graded on a 4-point scale determined by how much the student practiced, obviously, right? Corrected in class, or in this case, it will more than likely just be done remotely. So just look it over. You can redo a lot of these. And in Zoom is when you have a chance to ask questions. Quizzes, they're used as checkpoints, and you'll typically see them after a YouTube video lesson, or if I'm done Zooming. And again, these also may be retaken just like the practice. Now let's talk about the mastery test, the unit assessments. You can retake these as well. They are meant to be closed notes though, but you can retake them for a score of 3.5 on a retake. That's the best I can give you, because I find it to be unfair for a student to not study and then just take it, get a really low score purposefully, on purpose, and then coming back and getting that 3.5. Kind of unfair for the students who put a lot of effort in the get-go. So I cannot give them a straight 4, even though they ace it on a retake. So retakes are only a 3.5. Now honor students, you have the GAP and you have the ORP. Parents, GAP, Geography Awareness Project. That is the test where they need to memorize different countries throughout the globe. The ORP is the Outside Reading Project, which is a book of their choice based off the genre that's given to them, and they do a project. And currently, the project is doing sticky notes or notes. We can't really do sticky notes because it's remote learning, so taking notes down as they read. Make sure that you look over the ORP guidelines as well as the GAP guidelines that I have sent through email. And this can also be found in Canvas. Unfortunately, these cannot be retaken. I'm sorry, but these two tests, or these two items, GAP and the ORP, cannot be retaken. If you have any questions, please email me. That is the best way to get a hold of me. You can use Canvas as well, but my email, ryan.custodio@vansd.org, is the best way to get a hold of me. Thank you for listening. I'll see you later.